Hello, and welcome to your virtual lunch program. Actually, I hope you don't have virtual lunch. I hope you have real lunch, but thank you for joining us. So we're just going to have a fun chat today with a few of our co-authors as we introduce our next, I can't say our next release because we have a book release coming up right before this one, but one of our newest release coming out to a bookstore near you and a retailer near you called The Faith Effect, where faith fuels strategy. And this is a collaboration book project, otherwise known as an anthology. And it's a collection of amazing stories written by amazing co-authors. So I invited a few of them to share a little bit about their chapter today. So thank you for being here. And I'm Lisa Marie Garcia with CEO Book Publishing. And we also are going to have a point in this quick chat during the lunch hour today where you can ask some questions if you would like. And so get ready and I'll go ahead and monitor the comments right here in the chat. But you can ask all those questions that you've always wanted to ask and you've never known who to ask them to and when you would want to ask them. So this is your chance. So I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to let you know the 4 authors that we invited to this stream and just kind of let you know who they are and what their chapter title is. And then we're going to dig right into their chapter. So we have Lanier Malone, who is out of North Carolina, and her chapter working title, I would say everything is working until we publish, it's called The Day I Got to Be Her Daughter Again. And so in the teaser fashion, I'm not going to dig into that, even though I can't wait to talk a little bit about that. So we have Lanier Malone. We also have from our own backyard, actually some of the time, she's a little bit of a snowbird. I don't know if we'd call her that, but she lives in 2 states. Her name is Jackie McIntosh. And her chapter is amazing. And as the business leader and executive that she is, The Turning Point is the working title for her chapter. We then also are going to hear from and see and meet today Katie Ann, Coach Katie Ann, and she comes to us from Utah. Her chapter is just nothing but spectacular. In fact, it was hard to even find one particular teaser in her chapter because it's so packed full of amazing wisdom and amazing lessons that we can all learn. But her chapter working title is The Woman I Built on Borrowed Ground. And then last is Patty Gottschalk, and she comes to us from Arizona. So without even thinking about it here, we've got 4 different states with our 4 different co-authors that are part of our collaboration book. And Patty from outside of Mesa, Arizona, her chapter is called A Vision That Demanded All the Faith I Had. And I was just looking at her chapter a little closely, and wow, does she have an amazing story to tell. So I think what we'll do right now is let's go ahead and bring up 2 of our co-authors. Let's add to the stage, and let me remove Patty's chapter for a moment here. Let's bring up Jackie McIntosh. Hello, Jackie. And let's bring up Katie Ann. Hello.
Hi.
How close or far are you, Jackie? Are you in Florida? Or are you in Arizona or Washington? Where are you?
I am in Florida right now. Yeah.
Very good to know. So we're loving the weather here. It's not too hot yet, right?
That's right. That's right. It's beautiful.
And Katie, how's the weather in Salt Lake or in Utah area?
It is very typical of Rocky Mountain weather right now. We have
so what does that
right
mean?
Now it's a stormy day. Today it's a stormy day and it's about 50 degrees, and in 2 more days it will be 80.
Okay, so there you go. Sometimes I say that about Tampa because it's like you can have a storm, you can have the wind, you can have the sun, it's like all in one day. You're like, wow, I've really seen the weather. And why are we talking about weather? We should be talking about books. Someone needs to keep me on script here. Where's my teleprompter? Just kidding. Well, let's just dig right in. Katie, I want to talk about your chapter first, if you don't mind. And I know we chatted before, and I'm not going to talk about anything that we talked about before. And I want to remind you both, and remind all our co-authors when we talk about our chapters, that, and even when we talk about our books, when we talk to clients, let's do the teaser. We want people to buy this book and to to really be interested in it. So I'm going to just dig in. And this is a book that is a Christian genre book. And not all of the books that we publish are Christian genre, but this one 100% is. And it's our faith story, thus the faith effect. And I think someone just joined. So let me just hop back to that really fast. And then let's get into the chat. Yes. Okay. Lanier. And we'll bring Lanier Malone on in a moment. But I want to read a part of your chapter. And so here's what Katie Ann wrote. She said, I said yes to reading the Bible for the entirely wrong reasons. I thought this was my moment, my opening to share my faith, to lead someone towards the truths I've been raised to believe. I went in confidently. I had been taught well, and I was ready. Then they started asking me questions I had never been asked before, questions about the text itself, questions I can answer, questions I hadn't thought I needed to answer because I'd always trusted the framework I'd been given without looking too closely at the foundation underneath it. So if that's not a teaser, I don't know what is, because I know you and I've read your chapter, what you're talking about. Can you just sort of introduce the concept and what was going on in your life when you were writing about that?
Yeah, so I had just gone through a separation. I have 5 children. I'd been a full-time mom and worked part-time for a nonprofit, and was not disenchanted at all with my faith. I'd been raised very staunch Mormon, and very firmly planted in my faith and in my roots. And I'm very confident at what I had. I felt like I'd known all the arguments and all of the counter attacks, and I had them very well. But something about when I had been invited to read the Bible, I was very excited to share my faith and thought it was an opportunity for me to bring my faith to the table. And what I experienced was nothing I was anticipating.
Very good. Very good. And we can say, I think we can add this. You have a career that those were the seeds for the career that you lead right now in Salt Lake. So I love that. We never know for sure what event happens, what we go through, and where it might lead, right? Until we're there. And then we can say, oh, that's why I went there. Let me, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot, so to speak, Jackie. It's your turn. And I want to, you're an executive. Jackie McIntosh is a banking executive, many years, leadership, a lot of responsibilities. And her chapter, you have a lot of, leader type language, because that's what you lived and that's who you are. And so I'm going to read this from your chapter. So Jackie writes, as leaders, we're accustomed to being the ones who provide direction, not the ones receiving it under pressure. And after initial testing at the hospital, the ER doctor walked in. Her tone was calm, but her words were not. She said, we're going to keep you here a bit longer. We need to run more tests because we don't know what's causing this. And unfortunately, all but one possible diagnosis is life-threatening. And then a couple sentences down, I highlighted, she said, Jackie writes, I asked her, which one is not life-threatening? So again, Jackie, without, giving away all of it, can you talk a little bit about where you were during that stage when you write that in your chapter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think those are moments that we can all relate to and, just relive in our life. And there's so many lessons that can be learned from those. And, but it was really a place of faith. My faith was being, challenged, my entire world at that moment. I grew up in a career which was based mostly on data. And at that moment, there was no clarity. There was no ability to influence an outcome. So, those things that we want to control were quickly, released and were not in my control. So yeah, that's how I was feeling at that moment, right? When you're given a life-threatening diagnosis.
Thank you. And you write a lot. What I love about your chapter, what you write, is there's several times where you write about the insecurities that we have. And people don't like to talk about them. People don't like to write about them. People don't like to admit them, right? But we need to. I want to bring up on stage. Oh, I lost her. Okay, hang on. Let's add Lanier Malone. Hello, Lanier. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. So glad to be here. I'm so sorry. Something's going on with my computer and my background just disappeared.
It's always tech. No worries. Just we're happy that you're here. The humans are here. That's all that matters. The tech can come whenever in and out, but we're so used to it. But Lanier, we were introducing you earlier, and we're all from different states, so that are in different states right now. So she come from North Carolina. And what I want to do is we're only giving some book teasers right now, so we can't tell everyone what the chapters are about yet. We're going to have more and more of these, but I want to first of all, your chapter title is called "The Day," and it's a working title, "The Day I Got to Be Her Daughter Again." So there's a teaser even in that title. But let me read a little bit from your chapter, and then I'd love to hear your response. So Lanier writes, "I wasn't just showing up as a daughter that day. I was a caregiver, a mother of 2 babies, 21 months apart, a woman walking through a divorce, and someone trying to find stability after being laid off while on federal FMLA leave, taking care of my mom. This is what the in-between looked like for me, not balance, just constant responsibility." So Lanier, with that teaser, maybe kind of go back to, about how long ago was that? And, maybe like what was the before then? Maybe kind of dig into that, right?
Yeah. So that was about 3.5 years ago for me. And before that, it felt like this land of stability. And I think even when we think about stability, a lot of times, at least in my life, I thought about all of the things in life aligning and everything that I have structured working. But a lot of that is laced in me and all of the things. And so when that shifts, I think it's a really interesting and good opportunity for us to be able to depend on God in different ways. So before, like I said, it was stability. It was the marriage. It was the home. It was the kids. My parents were healthy. I was in a very thriving career, making the most money I'd ever made before. And so everything was good before. And so for that to be almost instantaneously taken from up under me, I think it gave me a really great opportunity to reevaluate and trust in what my foundation truly is. And it wasn't those things, but it was definitely my relationship with God. And that's a little bit of what it was before we got to that moment.
Well, you touched on one of the themes as I think about all three of your chapters. There is a theme in there of the relationship you needed to have, or the relationship that wasn't there, the relationship that needed to go to the next level. For instance, just to use, a phrase I don't love that much, but a relationship that, needed to be a real life, a real true relationship. Katie Ann, for you, and what your teaser was that we mentioned, you come out strong of, hey, I knew it. I believed I knew it. I believed I knew him. And then it got turned upside down for you. And, what can you say as far as what your relationship is right now versus then, if someone asked you?
Yeah. When people ask me, I always say that the Jesus I grew up believing in just never had the power to create the transformation in me that the Jesus I have learned to believe in and understand and have the relationship now with that I have. He just, when he says he will create in you a new heart, and I will take your heart of stone and make it a heart of flesh, and I will write my law on the tablet of your heart. I just feel like I really understand deeply what that means now. And that foundation really, we talked about that in my teaser chapter, was the foundation I thought I had that was so sure and so strong and so stable was actually the sand. And it all just melted away very quickly and very easily. And now I have a foundation on a true rock that's very strong and stable. And that process, I will not say was simple or easy or fun to go through, but worth every struggle and heartache. And I always say I've never felt more held or more at peace or more seen or more known or more loved in my whole entire life than I do now that I have this foundation on this rock.
I love that.
I love that. And when you say that to people, I'm sure their eyes get big and they either, really want to dig in, or they're really they don't understand it, right? Or they're just so happy that you're feeding them and helping them. So I love that answer. Jackie, you talk about, your relationship, which totally changed through your chapter, and what happened to you as you write, the turning point. What I'd say as the teaser for your chapter is that turning point was huge. And I feel like people either turn right or turn left at it. I think that all of us have a time where it's either left or right, and you went right. And so maybe you could talk about, what is it that changed you to turn right? How did you do it to enhance a relationship with him? I'm not saying it very well, but I think it's just so big what you finally had to do.
No, I understand. I understand, Lisa Marie, where you're coming from. I think the best way to think about that is it's one thing to say something, and another thing to do something. And I, at that point in my life, felt that many, many years ago, I had given my life over to Christ. And when the time and the moment came that challenged me, I didn't necessarily like the road that was taking me down, right? And so it challenged everything I thought I knew about myself and my faith. And through that, I'll call it an opportunity at this point. It really allowed me to grow and understand that. And I think if I could, leave you with that, that kind of point, but it is one thing to say it, and there's one thing to really mean it. And when you really do give your life over to Christ, you have to trust it, and you have to let it go where he wants you to go.
For sure.
100%. All right, Lanier, that you would be the next person I would ask. And I think from knowing you, not for many, many months, but for a little bit of time here, what I understand is, you've had a long-standing relationship with him. Mm-hmm. But as we change, our relationship changes. What would you say is part of what you've been going through that has changed your relationship with Jesus?
I love that question. I think acceptance that situations don't necessarily change who he is to me. The analogy or the thought that I come up with is I'm a girl's girl. I love shopping. Online shopping is my favorite. And in every season of life, I've had kids. I used to be an athlete. I've had a lot of life happen. And in every size, my clothing sizes have changed. Right? I still got to put on clothes. You still have to walk out commonly, except like you have to still be clothed. But accepting that, hey, in this season, my size might look a little different, and that's okay. It doesn't change my need to be able to be clothed. And I think accepting that in the wardrobe stage, if you do that same thing with your relationship with Christ, I grew up in church. I was a church kid. We were there all the time. And so it became routine. But I loved the foundation of what the routine taught me as an adult, because now as life has started happening, I'm able to go back and say, okay, what article of clothing do I need to wear for where I'm at right now? What tool do I need to deepen? So like, I know that this tool exists. Now I actually have to use it. Now it has to have a practical application for my everyday life, for my parenting, for my caregiving, for my marriage. But it doesn't change the need for it, but different seasons have just taught me how to accept, hey, I need him differently, and there might be a different tool that I have to use right now in this season just to be able to be the best me that he created where I'm at.
That's fantastic. And again, I mean, what is it? There's nothing, we can't count on anything in life except, what is it? Death, taxes, and change, something
And
like
change.
that, right? So,
Uh-huh.
you know, and what's wonderful about understanding that and accepting change, because that's, you know, it sounds easy, but when we're faced to it, it's a lot, it is hard, it's difficult. And again, and it for people that, you know, it can't change, I mean, we'll put them in a tailspin, but what's great about it, once you just, you know, there is change and it's going to happen. For me, what it means is, it just means trusting that this change that I don't understand and that I think is not what I want and not what the best is for me at this moment, it will be, because
Yep.
that comes back to the trust and really comes back to the faith effect. And what faith is what I should say. So with that, what I wanted to do to kind of end this is, I'd like us to all talk about, as we look at your beautiful pictures and your great chapter titles here, what I'd like you to end with is to share what the faith effect means to you. And I will start this off to say what I believe the faith effect is, and why I love this book and I love what you're all writing about. And you're only, you know, 3 authors of 10 that we have. This book will release in August, but the faith effect for me is the undeniable hand of God in every part of my life. And I am blessed, and I'm more than grateful about that. You know, that the mighty, the Almighty, right? The King, the Almighty God, our Father, will, you know, have this directed hand towards me. That's what the faith effect towards all areas of my life is for me. So let's start with Jackie. What is the faith effect for you, please?
Well, the faith effect, what I walked away with after I surrendered, and when I didn't have any answers, I had to place my full trust in God, and whatever the outcome would be, I would be okay with that. And after, you know, having these emotions of fear, after I surrendered, it was all peace. And that was the faith effect for me.
Yes.
I walked away very peaceful with whatever that would be, because I was fulfilling his purpose and not my purpose.
Excellent. Katie Ann, what's the faith effect? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I just continually think about impact and influence on my life, what has changed. And I had the honor of being able to share a message with a group of women. And what kind of comes up to me again is that some moments just arrive in your life, and you realize looking back that you were prepared for it, but in the moment you don't feel prepared when it arrives. And so you just have to decide what you're going to do with that. And faith for me has always been the foundation of my life and the foundation of my identity. So having my faith shaken and then completely rebuilt is like just this ripple effect. You know, when you think about like a pebble that gets dropped in the ocean or thrown in the ocean, it creates this ripple. That's what the impact of faith looks like to me and what it means to me, because it isn't actually just about me. It's not just my story. It's the impact on my children and on the people in my sphere of influence and on the community around me and on future generations for my children. It isn't just the here and now, and it isn't just my story. It's God's story. And that's what really the faith effect means to me. It's just the impact, not just in my life, but the impact of God on my whole entire ripple in that ocean. And it's really overwhelming for me to think about, but I just think I can't say it loud enough, and I can't say it big enough, and I can't say it often enough, because
Yeah.
There's just, you almost can't even articulate the magnitude of what that impact does, because you can't quantify that. And that is what God is. The abundance of God is just completely unquantifiable.
Very good. Excellent words. No wonder your chapter is so well written. You're so well spoken. Excellent. Right, Lanier?
I love it. Yeah.
All right. I know. So, Lanier, what's the faith effect to you?
I'll have to piggyback a bit off of what Katie Ann said with the ripple. I was thinking about a domino. So when you think about effect, I think about cause and effect, and I think about the domino that my faith has for me and those around me and those in my family. And so when I think about the faith effect, I think about the foundational domino of me saying yes, of me trusting, of me, being in uncomfortable spaces, but confidently, and not because I know the outcome, not because I've hacked what's going to happen next, but because my faith is so foundationally rooted that the effect of it is nothing but God's grace, that the effect of it is nothing but God's goodness because of that foundational, the truth on the front end of it. And so when I think about the faith effect, I think about that. I think about my yes as a domino. And my family is Jamaican, and dominoes is a very, very regular game for people to be hanging out and playing. And if you get a bunch of dominoes and they just fall, it starts here. And so I just think about it as a charge that God has given me, like, your faith will change people. Your faith will change environments. Your faith will change, an entire generation. And so the faith effect is just saying yes in that for me, and the foundational being so rooted in who God says you are, I think allows you to show up in some of the uncomfortable spaces that you don't know the outcomes of, but you have such a confidence because of that faith. So that's what the faith effect rings for me.
So I knew this was, did someone want to say something? I thought I heard something. Nope. Okay. Maybe I just heard breathing. Could be, right? So what I want to do is, again, invite everyone watching this stream. So we are going to release this book in August. We're going to have much more promotion and information as to where you can buy the books. They'll be on sale everywhere books are sold, but we're going to have some book events and some promotion. And these are just 3 of our authors of all our co-author for our collaboration book. So there'll be more promotions coming, and there'll be more live streams coming. In fact, our next one is on the 20th. But what I want to thank you all. I want to thank you, Katie Ann, for your beautiful chapter, The Women I Built on Borrowed Ground. And I'd like to thank you, Jackie McIntosh, for writing the beautiful chapter, The Turning Point. And Lanier, I can't read enough about what you write about. It's so incredible what you're doing in your life right now, in your chapter called The Day I Got to Be Her Daughter Again. So thank you all for being here. And with that, what I'd like to do is I want to read an excerpt that's at the end of one of your chapters. Should I tell you who it is? I will. At the end of Jackie's chapter, this is what she writes, and I'd like to end it with this. And she writes, "This experience didn't just change my life. It changed how I lead, because at the highest levels of leadership, you will face moments where the data is incomplete, the path is unclear, the stakes are high, and the control is limited. And it's in those moments when your greatest asset will not be strategy, but will be faith. Faith that you are being guided, faith that there is purpose in the pressure, and faith that even in uncertainty, you are moving forward." So again, I'm so excited about this book. It's rockstar already, and we're not even to first draft and copy editing. So we are building a wonderful book, and it's all because of you 3 and the other co-authors. So thanks for joining, and thanks everyone for watching and listening. And if you have a story to share, let us know. Thank you all.
Thank you, Liz Marie.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a wonderful day.